Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome to our weekly Rivals Race Chat. I'm Clinton Geoffrey along with Adam Ross, and we're going to talk about a few topics that are going on in the racing world. Adam, we got a lot of stuff going on, and as we're still in a holding pattern, but we've got a guest with us too who's talks about major motorsports. We'll bring in Matt Weaver right away, who's been on the line with us hanging around. So, Matt, welcome to the program. Matt writes for Auto Week, and we'll bring Matt in, and we're going to talk about NASCAR getting back underway. We're going to talk about the situation in Ontario. We'll discuss some of the racing that went on over the weekend. iRacing is obviously a hot topic. Adam, welcome first off, and then I'll let you bring Matt into the show.
Yeah, thanks, Clinton. It's great to be here. I see Matt. The sun is shining. Wherever Matt has been, the sun has been shining because he has either color or a much better makeup artist than you and I. Clinton. Matt Weaver, great to see you, my friend.
Hey, today has been the Monday is Tuesday. I can remember in a long time. I keep expecting to get to the point of the year where during this coronavirus shutdown that we're going to run out of stuff to talk about, things to do, and that just has not been the case yet.
No,
Let's
not
talk
yet.
about the
There's been a lot.
situation in NASCAR. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I don't mean to cut you off, Adam. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we brought you on because it's been a good race week for NASCAR news so far. There's a lot of positive things going on. Adam, I'll let you lead in. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's all good. That's what I was going to say. There's been a lot on the go this week. NASCAR always delivers with something that we can talk about. Should we start, I guess, with Ryan Newman and Matt Kenseth? And I have more questions than I have answers here, Matt. But go ahead and enlighten us on what's going on with those two drivers right now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I feel like we've been transported to 2005. We're talking about Ryan Newman and Matt Kenseth being front and center in NASCAR news. It's strange, but Ryan Newman has been medically cleared. He is completely healed from some brain injuries, basically a bruised brain that he suffered in the Daytona 500. He's fully recovered. He's only going to have missed 3 races. NASCAR has given him a waiver to compete in the playoffs should he win a race. Matt Kenseth is the more interesting story because he took over for Kyle Larson, and NASCAR gave him a waiver too. That part to me is the interesting one because it's not uncommon to see drivers who miss time due to injuries get a waiver. We saw it with Kyle Busch. He won the championship in 2015. We saw it with Tony Stewart. His last season came back and made the playoffs. We see it for 17-year-olds who are going to turn 18 after the Truck Series season starts. But I've never seen a waiver because there hasn't been one to where a NASCAR driver gets one because he hadn't been hired yet. But that's the times we live in. So, yeah, it's 2005 all over again. Matt Kenseth and Ryan Newman are going to be racing for a championship in the NASCAR Cup Series.
So I want to ask you this, Matt. Are they able to race for the championship because NASCAR wants to protect those two race teams and what they have invested? Or is the waiver to protect NASCAR in case one of those two wins a race and they can't explain why they would not be allowed to race in the playoffs?
I think that in a perfect world, everything would be a black and white. It's written in the rule book. It either is or it isn't. It's good, it's bad, whatever. In this case, I think NASCAR judges it by intent. And the intent of the rule is they don't want someone deciding that they're going to win the Daytona 500 and then go run IndyCar for the next 6 months and then come back and run the playoffs. They don't want to see someone pick and choose a schedule like it's 1954, where you're going to run 23 races and still have a chance to win the championship by intent. In this case, no one could have foreseen Kyle Larson dropping a hard R and getting fired for it. And only 4 races had passed. And so I think the judgment call is that they've got sponsors, they've got a driver who's going to run the rest of the year. Matt Kenseth is not going to be like he was at Roush 2 years ago, where he's going to come in and out. I think the intent matters, although I think personally it just bothers me because NASCAR has not seen a waiver request yet that they didn't like.
Yeah, I think my question to you, Matt, is where do they draw the line? They start getting on a pretty slippery slope. You're getting farther and farther out of the realm of what everyday NASCAR fans or hardcore racers would maybe accept as acceptable. I mean, we all get Ryan Newman. I mean, it's a great feel good story, but you got to wonder bringing in a replacement because, as you mentioned, it was a hard R, and that's the problem. Now, my question to you is: do you feel that this had anything in enticing Matt Kenseth to come back? The fact that he could race for a championship, it wasn't just a substitute fill in for the rest of the year for someone who made a mistake. Do you feel that had any bearing in Matt taking the ride?
Well, let me back up just a little bit. I will say that a friend of Canada, Chandler Smith, did pursue a waiver. He turns 18 later this year, late in the summer, and I think it was kind of encouraged to him that NASCAR would prefer not to give him a waiver where he runs 4 regular season races, and if he wins one of them, which he could, in a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck, he's in the playoffs. So I think NASCAR did kind of warrant off that one. But no, to answer your question about Matt Kenseth, let's not forget Matt was basically forced out of his ride at Joe Gibbs Racing. He was not ready to leave yet. Um, Joe Gibbs wanted to go with the youth movement, bring in Eric Jones, knowing that they had Christopher Bell coming right behind him. Matt wasn't ready to leave yet. When Matt came back 2 years ago to drive for Roush, that was more out of loyalty to Jack. I think that Matt felt felt like he owed Jack a ton to be able to bring him a race car that he could work on and make better. It wasn't full time. He could pick and choose his schedule. They needed someone to represent their new sponsor and Wyndham Hotels. It was a very unique circumstance. I think that after the half year with Roush, Matt was only going to come back in a car that he knew could win races and contend for a championship. And this was just a um, concurrence of circumstances, the firing of Kyle Larson, the fact that he's worked with Kurt Busch previously. Matt's made his money. It's not about money to him. He's going to make a fair salary, but he's not going to break Chip Ganassi. Most importantly, it goes back to sponsorship. Chip needed someone that could work with McDonald's, who could work with First Data, and keep them on board next year and beyond, when presumably Ross Chastain's going to be the guy. So in the short term, Matt Kenseth can win you races, can win you a championship, and he's going to satisfy your sponsors because he's really good at doing that. So it's good for everyone. Matt Kenseth gets one more chance to build on his legacy, and Chip Ganassi gets a guy that he can plug in and save the 42 team.
Adam,
Sorry, but I jump on
it's your
Clint.
turn.
See, Matt, Clint and I have been working together for 20 years. Is that what we've been doing all this time? Is taking turns? Because I talk when I have something fierce to say. I don't care if it's my turn or your turn. Usually, I prefer to talk when it's your turn, Clinton. That's just how
That
it's been.
that's good etiquette when we have a guest around. We can stomp on each other anytime we want.
Okay,
Do you have a question for Matt?
that
Because
makes
I do
sense.
if you don't. Um, while Adam gets his composure together, I'll throw up the Ryan Newman deal. Great story, Matt. How amazing is it to see Ryan Newman back? I mean, my wife and I, we were at the Daytona 500. Uh, it was one of the eeriest moments I think I've ever seen such a crowd that big. Nobody left. Um, we thought we might have seen the end of Ryan Newman that day, and we can laugh about it now. But it was an eerie position to leave the speedway on that Monday evening. Um, talk about how cool that is to have Ryan coming back.
Yeah, it's such a weird circumstance to where only Ryan Newman could suffer brain bruising and miss 3 races because of it. You know, the hardest guy to pass in the history of the Cup Series, and he damn well nearly dies, and now he's got a chance to run for a championship. Certainly, he had some help with the coronavirus shutdown. We can get into the schedule and what we learned earlier today and what that looks like. But it's a great story. I mean, regardless of whether or not he had some help with the coronavirus deal, The fact that Ryan Newman was able to walk out of that hospital 48 hours later, the fact that 2.5 months later he's able to get back into a race car. He's already tested at Darlington, so he's good to go. NASCAR gave him the approval. If it wasn't for many of the safety advances of the car of tomorrow and the Gen 6 car, I am 100% convinced, like you, that we saw the end of Ryan Newman. I thought he should have died, and he's still with us, and I think he's got a chance to win a race or two, depending on what the schedule looks like and what the tracks look like. But he's a great competitor. He is a tough son of a gun, and I think the sport is better for having Ryan be a part of it, and most importantly, thank God he's still alive.
Yeah, well said, for sure, Matt. So speaking of upcoming schedule, it's like a moving target. I mean, it's so very fluid. What are you looking forward to? And as someone who travels more than most people in the sport, where are you allowed to go? As they're starting to open up these events, is there much space for media? Media rooms are not big places.
So I'm going to give you guys some inside baseball. What's going on behind the scenes in the motorsports world? So the Associated Press and NASCAR are kind of lodged in a disagreement today. The Associated Press wants to have independent media involved in these races at Darlington and Charlotte and Martinsville and Bristol. As it stands right now, NASCAR's perspective is that unless you are directly responsible for making cars go in circle, then they don't want you at the track. NASCAR was going to basically cull reporters, get text messages, emails, and ask questions to drivers on our behalf. From an ethical standpoint, that's kind of a flimsy thing because once you give NASCAR permission to handle, the questioning of drivers during a crisis, you give them permission to do it during normal times, and I think that's kind of a line that needs to be addressed. So the Associated Press, the National Motorsports Press Association, they're going to deal with it. I think that in a perfect world, it goes back to what IndyCar was trying to do at St. Petersburg. They allowed 8 to 10 media members in. They told all of us who were there at St. Pete that if you're in the track, you get quotes, share them with your colleagues who were not allowed in. Whether or not I'm allowed into the NASCAR races or not, I would share my quotes, my information. I hope that NASCAR does allow a handful of media members, even if it's Jenna, Bob Pockris, Jordan Bianchi, Nate Ryan, whoever. I respect all those guys. I do think it's very important to have independent vetting sources there and not leave it up to NASCAR. So that's something that's to be determined. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know that the World of Outlaws is going to have a race next weekend at Knoxville. I've already reached out to the World of Outlaws. I would like to attend. We've got some late model races here in the Southeast that are going to start opening up soon. Montgomery Motor Speedway is going to have a late model race in 2 weeks. I plan to be there. The prestigious Rattler 250 super late models at South Alabama Speedway. That's going to be in 3-4 weeks. So I plan to be there. I guess we're just going to listen to local government, see what's safe to do. That's very important to me. I want to make sure anything that I do, first and foremost, is safe for me, my family, anyone that I come in contact with here at the house. And then second, does it provide a valuable source of information to the readers, to my friends, to the industry, to you guys? Those are the two things that I kind of think about when it goes to should I or should I not go to a race.
Matt, let's talk quickly. Switching gears. If you're new joining us, this is Matt Weaver from Auto Week, a NASCAR reporter, and many other things you report on too, Matt. But we mainly rely on you for your NASCAR insider knowledge. Let's shift gears about iRacing. iRacing has been big in our neck of the woods. Schweeken's been doing stuff. Adam and I are deeply involved in the leagues. NASCAR's been kind of leaning on that as a way to connect with the fans and keep the drivers and sponsors out there. From our perception up here, viewership seems like it's going pretty good. They got to be getting the bang for the buck that they're putting out for that. Just quickly comment on the state of iRacing and NASCAR and where you see that going once we get back to outdoor events.
Yeah, I've kind of lost track here in the last month or so because when you're not on the road and traveling, you lose track of time. So I don't know if it's been three races or four NASCAR races on TV, but I think three of the four or four of the five have all done over 1 million viewers, which has blown my mind. Good for NASCAR, good for Fox. I know the IndyCar races on NBC have done pretty well. They've done 300 to 350,000 viewers on average per race. The thing I've said all along is, look, I know it's not the real thing, but I think that when you have Dale Earnhardt Jr. and you have Jeff Gordon, Bobby Labonte, all racing against the current stars of the Cup Series, that brings a lot of interest. It's good for sponsors. My colleague Joey Barnes talked to Ed Carpenter from IndyCar earlier this week, and Ed said that this thing is single-handedly keeping his sponsors on board because they can still do press releases, they can still activate, they can still do social media around the branding. So it's been a big win for everyone. I don't know how long the novelty will last, how much longer everyone can do this before it kind of wears off. But it looks like we're not going to have to do it for much longer. NASCAR is going to get started here in about 3 weeks. The World of Outlaws, which is also done iRacing on Wednesday nights, they're getting started next weekend. So I think this lasted the perfect amount of time, and knock on wood, hopefully the testing for the coronavirus is going to get easier. Hopefully, we can do a better job of managing that. And we can look back on iRacing as this really fun period that we learned a lot about. And it was something that kept us busy for a month and a half until racing started.
Matt, you always have a way of summing things up appropriately. Like, you really don't offer much to dig into and pick at, and it bothers me somewhat. Because Clinton and we say a lot of stupid things, so it's easy to jump in and have a fierce opinion to play off of. You don't provide that.
Well, the problem is, like, I've turned the tables on you because, like, I'm typically the guy that's asking questions, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
relish being in this role. So, like, I know the sort of things that I wish I could get from drivers, from team owners, and it's not always good TV. So I hope this is working for everyone watching. But
You're
like, I know the sort of quotes that I would want if this were my show, if this were my program. So I'm a man of the people. I'm trying to give you guys some really good quotes.
okay. Let's do
All good,
this.
Matt.
The rat. When was the last time there was a physical altercation at the Rattler 250?
Bubba Pollard and Daniel Hemrick were involved in a crash in turn one. I forget the year, but it was the race that was delayed a week. They came back and ran it the next Saturday night. And I remember this because it was a Saturday night instead of a Sunday afternoon. There wasn't a fight, but I know that the two of them were kind of jawing at each other. That was one year. And there was one year where Stephen Nasse and Kyle Grissom, the son of Steve Grissom, had a first lap,
Yeah.
first corner crash, and the two of them were kind of jawing at each other in turn one. So those were the two that stand out. I love that race. I love that track. That place is so tiny. I have never seen a bad show or a less entertaining show at the Rattler in South Alabama.
So what happens now if two drivers want to get into a physical altercation? They understand the risks. What about the track? And Clinton, you're a track promoter, and Matt Weaver, you've seen enough of this. You run the show, you're on a radio, two drivers step at each other in turn one. Do you send your officials in to break them up by physically touching them and moving them? Or do you just sit back with a few towels and wait to wipe up the mess?
Matt?
Okay, so listen, I have worked for enough track promoters. I've done the track PR game for a couple of years, so I was fortunate enough that I actually got my professional first paid gig at Mobile International Speedway back when Rick Crawford. We don't talk about Rick too much, but we we had Rick Crawford owning the track. We had Tommy Prater doing some of the promotional stuff. So I learned from a real good one in Tommy Prater, and I'm trying to think about what Tommy would say. Tommy is always about the show. And so I think in this case, Tommy would probably say, hold off on the officials. If they're going to kill each other, at least get it on the pay per view broadcast.
Social
Sounds like
distancing,
Adam.
Clint. That's
I
it,
mean,
right? Just stand back.
yeah, at your driver's meeting, let them know there'll be no referees, so you're on your own out there.
But
With that being
from a
said,
social distancing,
yeah, I mean, they got helmets and gloves on. I saw a go-kart petitioning the government today. He was like, "We wear gloves, we wear helmets. Why can't we go-kart racing?" Thanks for being with us, Matt. We appreciate it. We won't drag you out too long because we want to be able to rely on you in the weeks coming forward as NASCAR gets back underway, and we'll follow those stories, and especially if you make your way over to that Outlaws race in the coming weeks. So thanks for joining us, Matt, and we appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah, anytime. I still hope to travel up north at some point this year and see you guys. I miss my Canadian friends. I miss Canadian racing, and fingers crossed that we can still do it later this summer.
All right,
we're
thanks,
all
Matt, for
hoping
being
for
with us.
that, Matt. Stay safe.
Y'all too.
That was Matt Weaver from Auto Week. If you've not checked out Matt's articles, you probably have. You may have not even noticed many days on Facebook or whatever. I'm scrolling through and realizing, wow, I read an article and go back and look at the byline and it's Matt on it. So that happened after the first time we had him on this show. I was like, wow, he's kind of a big deal. And then I heard Dale
You
Jr.
know,
refer to his column on the Dale Jr.
yeah.
download, and I'm like, whoa, he really is a big deal. So we appreciate Matt hanging around with us. But
The
before you
nice
jump into what you're
the
saying,
nice thing
just want to
is,
let everybody know
yeah, go
we are
ahead.
going to talk about a lot of short track stuff here. Hang around. We do have some discussions coming up of what the short track scene is going to be like in Ontario, and hang with us. Adam.
I was going to say Matt Weaver is one of us first. That's what's great about him. He's just a racing person. He loves racing, and he's in a very high-profile role. It's a lot the same way with Dale Jr. Dale Jr. can't help who his parents were, but he just loves racing. He's a down to earth kind of person who digs into this stuff. So I think there's certain people who really appreciate this type of personality in the sport and kind of gravitate to their work. It's the same with commentators and announcers and racers and crew chiefs and officials. There's people who just seem to be a real part of the fabric of the sport. I like those people.
Yeah, you mentioned fabric of the sport. You mentioned we talked a bit about Dale Jr. I saw an article or an interview with him this week, and he was mentioning that him and his wife just found out they were going to have their second baby girl. And someone said, a lot of the people were disappointed that it wasn't going to be a boy. And he said, I'm kind of relieved. He goes, the pressure that would have been on that kid had he been a boy to be a racer and to live up to what his grandfather and what, the perception of Dale Jr. had done. He goes, it just would have been too much. So interesting to think that as fans, we put that pressure on the second and third generation drivers as they come up, or for that matter, hockey players, athletes, whatever they are. Let's move on, Adam. Lots of local stuff we want to discuss. So if you're here with us in the Ontario scene, thank you so much for hanging around. If we can bring you a connection to the national scene, we'd like to do it. It's been the hot topic the last 24 hours. Quickly touching on iRacing, Adam, lots of good stuff's been going on in our world. First off, with close to home here at Oshweekend, we're going to continue the Friday night excitement races. Lately, it's been Stephen Goldner's been cleaning up in the Oshweekend Stars division. So this week, we're going to do a bounty, a $50 bounty for the star that can beat Stephen Goldner, and we'll pay that out in iRacing credits. So if you can beat Goldner, we'll put $50 in your iRacing account. If Goldner holds on and you cannot beat Steve Goldner, he will get the $50 bounty. And here's a look at some of our action from last week. Let's listen to it, Spencer. If you're not joining us on a Friday, this is what you're missing.
There they are, right pinned against the wall, coming down this time by. It should be the white flag. Oh, a crash in the start-finish line. The white flag out. Will we continue on? Looks like we will. Here comes Goldner down to the inside of Beagle. A drag race for the win. Slide job on the last lap, last corner. Cover the checkered flag. The winner, Stephen Goldner.
Wow. Adam, you said it, and Goldner's been cleaning up on the Friday Night Excitement broadcast. You said it best. We're all right with him winning every race if it's a last lap pass, and I think that goes for outdoor racing, any type of action. We'd be all right with if the same guy wins every week, as long as he's making it a dynamic pass coming out of turn 4. Let's talk quickly about the success of the Friday Night Excitement. The viewership's been up. We appreciate everybody enjoying that, and it's a way for us to kind of service our sponsors and partners in the meantime. And our drivers have really come to play and have picked up their game in the past month.
And remember, folks, we want you to share your seats. So when we're doing Friday Night Excitement, please comment, send messages with where you're watching from. If you're sitting in the living room, hopefully soon you'll be sitting out by a bonfire in the backyard maybe. The weather's getting great. We all want to be at the racetrack, but just because we can't doesn't mean we shouldn't spend some great quality time together. So that's about it for me for our Friday night iRacing. Let's get to some real short track stuff. Start talking about what's going on in the world, and we can come back to this later on with some stuff I'm excited about. But we need to talk about some real nuts and bolts racing.
Yeah, I guess you want to jump to the end then. Payouts, streams, and expenses. So the topic here in Ontario has been a lot of discussion about the unknown. When do we get to go back racing? When will restrictions be lifted? And I think the common message from pretty much every racetrack in Ontario is we'll be ready to go when we're ready. The question is, will the government let us go back to racing this season in any form of normalcy? A few terms that just pissed me off lately. The new normal, I hate that term, man. But
I
I guess it
talk
is what
about
it is.
that. I talk about that in my mental health sessions, Clint, because I think it's a horrible term for people's mindsets right now. This is not the new normal. This is effed up. This is
Yeah.
really effed up. This is not how we live. This is not how our world works. And bullshit. This is not the new normal because you know what? I've been really strict with myself and my family following the rules, Clinton. And you and I argue about this a fair bit because it's fun to share opinions. But I'll be damned if this is the new normal. Go screw yourself.
Yeah, we definitely need to get back to what was before as soon as possible. So let's talk about some of the options. For example, on the asphalt side, I'm going to look it up, but Taylor Holdaway posed a good question today on Facebook, and it was just let me pull it up here so I can read it exactly how it was posed. But it basically said he posed a question: if you don't know Taylor Holdaway, pavement racer here in Ontario, what are everyone's thoughts on the 2020 race season? If the tracks are allowed to open without fans, do you think they should? Having no income from ticket sales, concession stand, beer garden could affect profits for the year. Are people willing to race for no points purse just to get on the track this year? These are crazy times, and we hope all tracks can survive this pandemic so we have places to continue to race. There's been quite a various bit of thoughts on that, Adam, and I have a few thoughts from the promoter's seat. But your thoughts on that? There's a few questions in there. First off, let's break this down. If the tracks are allowed to open without fans, do you think they should? Question number one.
Yes.
How do you work?
Don't ask a yes. Don't ask a yes or no question. Rule number one.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's why. Racing is an addiction, right? There are fans who love it, but the racers live for it. This is going to open a set of problems that we are not ready for. But yes, the track should let people on the racetrack with or without fans.
What problems?
The problems are the tracks are going to need the racers to race for no prize money. Because whatever money does come in from the back gate by letting people in to come and play, hopefully will cover insurance and whatever other costs are involved with putting on a show, but it definitely does not cover paying a purse. So the problem is the higher the division, the more car owners and race car drivers work in principle. The principle being we're here to put on a show, we get paid for putting on a show. And I'm not saying that's wrong. It's not wrong, but it's how it is. The lower the division, and I'm sorry, we start from the mini stocks and then thunder stocks and then crate sprints and then sprints. The lower the division, the easier sell it is to say, guys, come out and play. We're not going to pay you. We are going to charge you to come in because these are our operating costs and they have to be paid. You're only going to be allowed 2 people per car, 3 people per car, whatever it happens to be. You're going to have to make sure that you distance yourselves. We want you to come out and race and have fun. That's what we're here for. But no money is going to be paid out. And you'll have an easier time in the lower divisions than you will in the higher divisions. Partly because they're a less expensive car to operate, and partly because the lower the division, the more likely they are to be a hobby racer. The higher the division, the more expensive these cars are to run, and the more savvy these people are to say, what message am I sending? And I'm sorry for being so long-winded, but what message am I sending if I'll go into the pits and race and not get paid? How can I ever expect to be paid next year when things are back to another new normal if I do it for free this year?
Good point. I think as a promoter, we have to look at that. If you start changing your admission fees and all things like that, like, is this what's going to be expected going forward? Because, as you said, the new normal, as we talked about. So there's two things in Taylor's post that I'd like to address from the promoter side again. He said, "Would you be willing to race for no point money?" Well, that's two different things. Look at the Weekend payout, for example. All of our point money is paid for by our marketing partner. So Cool Kids, they come up with the $25,000 that we pay directly to cover our sprint car purse. The $10,000 that's paid out for the crate sprints comes directly from our partners at Strickland's, GMC, and so on and so forth, Middleport Mechanical, and HRW Automotive. So as a promoter and a partner with them, knowing they're having their worst year ever, can I really go to them with my hat in my hand after a quarter of a season and say, yeah, I still need that 25 grand? So that's one aspect. Point money is going to be an issue. We can discuss for weeks on end on how we would even have a point. Should we have a point? Should we just race for, night to night to put on a show? The other point to that is, so that's one thing. That's point money from sponsorship. But when you look at us weekend, we are $22,000 in operating costs. That is simply just to pay the nightly staff and the 4 division payout. So even if let in 500 people at an average of $30, you're still looking at $7,500. You're not even coming close to the money you would need to pay a purse weekly. Then the other topic that comes up is streams. Well, that's great. Us weekend, we're ready to go with the stream. We've been giving away for free. Sure, let's say we decided to go to a paid model, or let's say you're another short track in Ontario that's looking at doing a 2-camera stream, which could be set up or whatever, a pay-per-view, which if you need help, call us because we can fix you guys up with that. And I'm sure our services are going to be required. In fact, we know it is. We've already been called a couple times. So we'll be active partners in helping you get your racing fix if it's possible. The problem is when you start looking at, and Spencer, chime in my ear if I'm wrong here, but to do a pay-per-view, you're looking at a base fee of a few $100. Then you're going to looking at a percentage of everything that's going on is going to come back to like a piece of that. Every buy is going to have to go to the stream. So right away, there's not a lot of money in streaming either to be made. And let's do some quick math there. If you get 100 people to pay $30, you're still only at $3,000. I mean, and that's a lot of people who are going to get out their credit cards, sign up, go through it. And, we have good views, but we're point and click on YouTube and Facebook. No sign up, no credit card, nothing required. So I think, it's going to take a lot more than just throwing up a stream, going for it. There's going to be some challenges. Someone is going to lose. More than likely, it'll be the track and the race teams if they want this to work out going forward. So that's one part of the discussion. Anything you want to say to that?
To be clear and to be fair, there's a lot of losing in racing. There's far more losing than there is winning. And that counts also financially. So, we talk about things that are black and white, and we're talking about things in principle. At the end of the day, the track owner wants to put on races. The track workers want to put on races. The racers want to come out and race. The fans want to come out and watch racing. So there needs to be productive discussion on where the compromises happen and where the opportunity lies. I think we're super fortunate with the live stream that we put out. I don't see how you can charge for something that you've given away for years. That would seem like, and this might be very stupid of me to say, but it would seem like taking advantage of a terrible situation. But it might be the only way to make things viable. So there's got to be some good discussion and some give and take.
Well, just to rebuttal what you said about, taking advantage of the opportunity to charge, I think from the Ashweekend side, and I have to have this meeting with Glenn, but I think my feeling is for the $3,000 you could possibly make for all the headache it's going to be, I'd rather just go out and get a couple good partners to recoup that money and still continue to give it away free. Because even if you recoup that $3,000, you're still losing money, so you still have a lot of holes to fill in your bucket from that side of things. Now, I did talk to a speedway owner right before we went on the air who mentioned to me that they're looking at, well, let's just wrap this up and say, not wrap it up, but put a bit of punctuation on the payouts versus streams and expenses. We're all going to have to get creative and decide on how we want to race. I had a discussion with one of our 360 drivers who said, look at we can put in 22 to 26 360 drivers, but we've got 45 to 50 crates who are eager to race. Their purse is way cheaper. It's a third of what the 360s are. If you ran a reduced purse race, you could probably get a full field of crates, even if half of them stayed home. So, there are options out there, and you don't want to exclude anybody, but you have to figure out how you're going to make these top divisions happen. That's what people want to see. But one thing I'd say, we have a lot of creative minds here in the promoting business in Ontario, and no matter where you race or what your discipline is, the people around you are going to figure out a way to get you on track if they want to. But you're going to have a good attitude and realize we got what we've got, and we can do what we can do now. The promoter I talked to, let's talk what we can look forward to in the short term, Adam. So I've heard multiple tracks talking about practicing, where they'll have multiple practice sessions throughout the day. So one dirt track promoter told me he's looking at renting out his track all day Saturday and all day Sunday. They'll have maximum people in that they can come in. There'll be like no concession, no bathrooms, basically stay at your trailer. You can hot lap your car. And so that's one thing where we may see some track time coming out sooner than later in the next couple of stages here in Ontario of the rollout. But I think we're still a ways away before we see full field of cars getting ready to go. I mean, we've thought about everything. I think Kadosh Weekend, a viable 2-division show may be possible to stream it. There's been other talk about multiple days of the week. For our weekend, that still poses a problem because we don't want to beat up the neighbors with noise. But I don't know. It's a troubling time. I never thought we would be here.
And the other problem it poses is multiple days sounds fine and good until you realize that all of your track workers are part-time help. They all have real jobs and real lives. For the most part, I shouldn't say all of them. So again, it's going to be a lot of compromise. But folks, things are much brighter than they were 1 month ago when Clinton and I sat here and we're talking about what's going to happen and where we're headed. So progress is being made. I'm very proud right now to be Canadian, Clinton. I can absolutely say that. When you look around the world at what's going on, I think the Canadians are showing a lot of class, a lot of responsibility. Nobody likes it, but I think it will pay off.
Let's hope all this works out and we can finally get back to racing. Let's switch gears, Adam. Let's go to our Burger Barn video of the week. Of course, we remind you every week to support the folks who are behind us and behind the sport we love. Of course, Jason and everybody at Burger Barn have been great. He shared a picture the other day of an empty restaurant, which is #sad. And man, that place, you could not get a seat there 3 months ago. And great to have Jay and everybody with us. And we know that place will fill up. Probably one of the first places to be back pumped and full speed will be the Burger Barn. Let's talk quickly about our Burger Barn video of the week. It goes back to iRacing. Denny Hamlin had an issue this week. Adam, are you familiar with that? Where his daughter somehow shut off his iRacing rig and cost him the NASCAR race. You can set it up or talk about it here before Spencer rolls the video.
No, I say roll the video because it's funnier when you don't know. But the fact of the matter is, in racing, there are so many ways to lose.
I'm mad. I'm pissed off. But they're just kids. You'll see at the end of this clip, or end of this recap, we have live footage of my daughter coming in with a remote, Samsung remote, hits the power button and cuts my monitors off while I'm racing. That was unfortunate. It all started with misqualifying. I was trying to log on to TeamSpeak. My fault, got in the back of the pack. Eric sideswiped us, knocked us to the grass. Then we were going back to the pack again. I think Eric hit somebody else, knocked him into me, knocked me a lap down, had some damage, still saved the fast repair. But my daughter came in with a remote and essentially ended our day. That's something you just don't hear every day, folks. Thanks, Coke, FedEx, everyone else. You gotta be kidding me.
Pause. Dad, can we go downstairs in the go-karts? Can we?
my screen just went black.
Oh, dear.
I love that logo.
That's priceless.
Like she knew she pressed the wrong button instantly.
That is she wanted to go on the go-karts downstairs. We're
That's
planning.
great.
We're planning, Denny. Come on, look after your stuff.
You know, everybody in those fields are going to be going for the remotes now. Kids, give me the remotes before I get online. And Adam, how many times
Well,
have you done the shh, 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 I'm racing? Like, go away.
I did it 10 minutes ago when Angie came in to try to get her purse off the back of the chair I'm sitting on.
Get out of here.
Oh, so yeah, no, that's why that video needed no introduction. That was priceless. That was
So
raw
quickly,
emotion we saw from Denny Hamlin.
while we're discussing iRacing, we have the Weekend Friday Night Excitement going off. It'll be 8 p.m. this week is when we're going to go live. So if you're an Weekend racer and you want to get involved, you can join us on the practices every night at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock on hosted sessions. Give Adam or myself a message and we'll get you involved. You can also sign up at oshweekendspeedway.ca/iRacing and get involved in our Friday night broadcasts. Adam, let's talk about the Canadian Sim Racing Series getting set to take off this Sunday. Will be the first event. There's been practice events going on since Sunday night. I was in it again last night. Some big names in there racing and getting ready to go. Some of the biggest names in Canadian racing getting ready to race in the Canadian Sim Racing Series. 5 races. Who will be the Canadian Sim Racing champion kicks off this Sunday at Auto Club Speedway. And let's talk about that. Some of the names have been coming out.
9
They're real
o'clock
good.
p.m. right here on GeForce TV. But yeah, the names have been phenomenal. DJ Kennington, Gary Clute, Kevin Lacroix, Alex LeBay, Raphael Lassard. There are 60 drivers registered. We had to shut down registration. We had to turn people away. 60 drivers, only 40 of them will transfer straight into the main event Sunday. So that means 20 drivers are going to have to run in a last chance race against the top 3 from a public qualifier. So this is big news, folks. If you want to get into this race, you still can. There is a way. Let me find out. I got to go back to my this from Jason Labrosse. So we made sure there was a way for everybody to try to get in and qualify. But first, you can imagine how good the competition's going to be when a third of them are going to be knocked out after time trials.
Well, some of the names that we come in, you mentioned Alex LeBay is one of the top iRacers basically anywhere in the world when it comes to the NASCAR classes on iRacing. And the other French standout from Quebec has been Kevin Lacroix. Kevin has been dominating the practice sessions since Sunday, looking pretty good. There'll be another one on coming out tonight. And they're going to practice all week long to get ready for the first broadcast. And we're excited to have some new voices on the broadcast with us coming out this Sunday, and excited for what the series holds. And
Yeah, we've
excited too
talked.
that it's going to be simulcast in both languages, French and English. So for our French viewers, you'll be able to watch the whole broadcast with French announcing, and for our English viewers, we'll have our regular cast of characters up covering the event.
So I've just put the link on the YouTube chat and here in the Facebook chat. If you want to come in and sign up for the Canadian Sim Racing Series to take part in the free races, sign up there, click that link. You might have to click to get it translated to English because our partner Jason Labrosse in Quebec, he's been handling all the administrative stuff in the back end, Clinton, which has been phenomenal because it's all stuff that we want nothing to do with. He's been doing a great job. Are you going to come out to the practice tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just trying not to wreck anybody. That's been my worry is I'm still getting up to speed. I'm only about a week into my racing career, maybe going on a week and a half now. And I wrecked Kevin Lacroix twice in the warm up, and I was like, man. So every time he came around, I'm like, just get out of his way. I don't want to turn any of these guys
Yeah.
off from the series, thinking they're a bunch of hacks out there getting wrecked. Because I'm definitely last on the speed charts. And then tonight, 3 or 4 we went on, I was killing time, and I went on the Weekend server and wrote off Sean Evans about 3 times, so I'm sure I'm not his favorite announcer tonight. So I parked the wheel and picked up the microphone where I'm better off, and I think I'll leave it there for a little bit. But yeah, I would like to jump on the back of the practice. I'm having a great time. Still trying to figure out my wheel setup, but no, it's fun, man. Hey, give me a bit of peep.
Well,
Give me a bit of props. Sunday, I finished 8th in the practice race on the lead lap, and like I took some advice that you said Connor received there, and it was just try and make as little mistakes as possible. So I knew I wasn't fast, and I knew I got past, but I managed to stay out of trouble. Key many nights, right?
Every mistake you don't make is a step in the right direction. And it's hard. It's not hard to drive a car, just like driving a car, but it's hard to drive it really fast. And it's that much harder when you see other people doing it and think, my God, if they can do it, why can't I? So it's going to be a lot of fun. Sunday night, 9 o'clock, right here on GeForce TV. Check it out every Sunday night in the month of May.
I told you I also did some barnstorming around, and I got into a server on Sunday night with I was telling you Olivier Bedard and Jean-Philippe Bergeron and Jake Exton. So those are some superb road racers. So I was learning my way around CTMP. It's amazing. This past week alone, that's probably the coolest thing about iRacing is all the racing superstars that just appear up in your deal. We've talked about a few times. This week alone, I got in that server with them. Someone sent me a sprint car race that Casey Kane had been in with them. I raced IndyCar race with Roger Mears on the weekend. So it's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a lot of fun. We're trying to bring you, as my pile of games fell to the floor here, we're loading up on things to survive this pandemic, and all the puzzles we bought have not been put together, Clinton.
I thought you were going back to the Super Mario stack of those games.
Sort
We have
of.
to get them
We
going.
do have a knockoff Jenga game here, but sort of my stack of games is like a knockoff Jenga game.
Yeah, Terry Watts asked me how much my system was. I was able to use my editing computer that I use for editing commercials and stuff for the track, and I got a wheel for about $400. So you're looking at 500 to 1,000 depending on what your computer setup is right now. Anything else the viewers want us to discuss or bring up, or any questions you have? We got a minute or two before we will close off the show. Thanks so much for being with us again. You look like you had something to go over. I just want to mention that a few things going on. Adam has his Mindwell session Thursday. We air that on Facebook. If you haven't checked it out, check out Adam out there. And what's the other key? Anything else they need to know about that, Adam? Where can they find your Thursday deal?
Should be a fun show this week. Quinn Teachma, who is the co-star of an upcoming feature film, February's Dog, is coming on the show. It's a movie that focuses on male mental health. So I'm really looking forward to it. We've put some promotion out. Hopefully it'll be a great show Thursday. So come and check out my page, facebook.com/Adam Out There. That's where you'll find it.
Yeah, Friday night. So that's 7 o'clock Thursday. Friday night, we're back with Friday Night Excitement, which Greg and Adam and myself will host a whole slew of Schweeken racers. Looking to maybe have a bit more of a street stock competition. We're going to figure out everything tonight or tomorrow and let you guys know. But either way, it'll be fun, amazing racing, and we're just trying to switch it up for viewers. Don't forget, we do have the $50 iRacing bounty on Stephen Goldner for the pros to see if he can beat or be beaten once again. And I think that's it. About it. The message we've got is just stay safe, do the right thing. Hopefully, we can get back to racing as soon as possible because, as we mentioned, everybody is excited to go racing, and I think we'll all feel a bit better when we see NASCAR get back on track and the Outlaws are getting back to racing in 2 weeks, and I think that's going to give us all a bit of the uplift that we need and a bit of the kick in the ass to get us all going and be ready to go racing ourselves.
The time is going to come, folks, so be ready. We're looking forward to seeing all of you, but in the meantime, be safe, be smart, protect the people around you.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks, Spencer, for everything as usual. We'll see you guys Thursday for Mindwell Sessions and Friday for Friday Night Excitement. What do you got?
I asked permission of Spencer before we came on the air because I know that one of your pet peeves and one of Spencer's pet peeves is unprofessionalism. And one of the things we don't like to point out is mistakes. Who is wrong, Clinton? Is it you or is it me?
Oh, right now with this?
Vertical stripes are not slimming.
Okay, well, Spencer, do you have the thumbnail anywhere in your disposal? Either one of them? The new hand-drawn one or the old one?
I'm not one to throw anyone under the I
No,
asked how this is
yes,
supposed to
put it
go.
on the air, and we'll see who's got the right deal. Spencer's trying to find it here.
Oh, this is exciting to me. Like, this is drama. This is worth waiting for. Because now, for people who don't know,
Is it worth waiting for to be wrong?
if you look at the stripes behind Clint,
Mhm.
they're going up and down. The big red stripe is going across your screen. On my page, son of a gun! I was,
You can take it down.
son of a gun. I gotta put new nails in the wall to hang it different. I even asked last week, how should this go? Yeah, all right.
We can
I've been-
discuss it though, because I actually like your backdrop better than mine. But I had camera issues, that's why we were a couple minutes late, and audio trouble. So we'll figure that out. But yeah, we'll get it. Just we're getting there, buddy.
If you
Bit
change
by bit.
yours, I'm changing mine too.
So isn't that how it always goes? One over the other. All right, thanks everybody for sticking with us. We'll get our backdrops together and our act cleaned up. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks everybody for helping us get the show together. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you being a part of the show. Thanks for Matt Weaver for joining us. Stay safe. We will see you again.